Attention, grabber, have you ever wondered what truly makes a woman realize the magnitude of losing you? The truth is, it's not about what you say, but what you do. If you master this one thing, you'll leave an imprint that hits her like nothing else. The first key to making the pain of losing you hit her hard is to build self-sufficiency and confidence. It's not enough to simply rely on the idea of being emotionally strong or pretending that you have everything figured out. The real impact comes when you become genuinely self-sufficient, emotionally independent, and confident in who you are. When you don't need her to feel whole, when you're not seeking validation from her at every turn, you create a sense of emotional distance that she'll eventually notice. She'll start to realize that you're not emotionally dependent on her for your happiness, your self-worth, or your life's direction. This is something that will hit her harder than anything else because people naturally crave what they can't easily have or control. If you're constantly seeking reassurance from her, it gives her a sense of power. But when you stop doing that, when you stop bending over backward to make her feel important and instead prioritize yourself and your own growth, she begins to question her place in your life. She starts to wonder if she's even as crucial to you as she once thought. Self-sufficiency means having your own life, your own interests, and your own sense of purpose. It's about pursuing your passions, focusing on your career, building a strong social circle, and developing hobbies that make you feel fulfilled outside of the relationship. This is what sets you apart from the men who are constantly chasing her or needing her approval to feel good about themselves. It's this self-reliance that will make her see that you're not a man who depends on her for happiness. You're someone who can thrive on your own, and that makes you rare and valuable. As your self-sufficiency grows, so does your confidence. Confidence isn't about arrogance or showing off. It's about being comfortable in your own skin and not needing anyone to complete you. When she sees you leading a fulfilled life, secure in who you are, she starts to feel a shift. The attention that once came easily, the emotional validation that she may have once been used to giving, isn't there anymore. That absence, that shift in the dynamic, creates a tension she wasn't prepared for. When she realizes that your world doesn't revolve around her, it forces her to reconsider the role she plays in your life. If you stop seeking her approval or affection to validate your worth, the void that she feels when you're not constantly showing up for her is one that can't easily be filled. She starts to experience the pain of losing someone who was never emotionally reliant on her, someone who was complete before she entered the picture. And that, right there, is a profound realization. It's this very dynamic, your independence, that will leave her questioning how much she truly mattered to you. That self-sufficiency will plant the seed of doubt and regret in her mind, knowing that you could be perfectly fine without her. This is why building self-sufficiency and confidence is so powerful. When you no longer need her, the loss of you becomes not just emotional, but also existential. It's no longer just about missing someone. It's about facing the reality that they might not be as important to your happiness as they once believed. That is a pain that cuts deep. Being unpredictable yet consistent is a psychological combination that's difficult to let go of. And it's exactly what can make your absence hit her much harder than you might expect. When a woman knows every move you're going to make, when your emotional responses and patterns are entirely predictable, she may start to take you for granted. The routine becomes boring, the anticipation fades, and the emotional connection loses its intensity. But when you mix stability with a touch of unpredictability, It keeps her emotionally engaged, curious, and even slightly off balance, in a way that creates lasting emotional tension. This is what makes your presence powerful and your absence unsettling. Consistency gives her a sense of safety. It shows that you are dependable, reliable, and grounded. She knows you're not emotionally erratic or flaky. But the problem many men face is they confuse consistency with being overly available or routine to the point of losing intrigue. That's where unpredictability comes in. It adds that element of surprise, the sense that you're not easily figured out, that you're not fully under her control. When she thinks she has you all mapped out, and then you throw in an unexpected change, like canceling a plan to prioritize your goals, taking a spontaneous trip, or simply not responding right away because you're busy living your life, it forces her to reconsider what she assumed about you. This doesn't mean playing games or manipulating emotions. It means maintaining your integrity while also remaining independent and self-directed. One day you might shower her with deep, meaningful attention, and the next you're focused on your own path, not because you're punishing her, but because you have a mission that goes beyond her. That inconsistency in attention, not in treatment or respect, triggers curiosity. It makes her question what's going on in your mind, what you're thinking, why you're suddenly more distant, and if she's losing your interest. That uncertainty is incredibly powerful. It keeps her emotionally invested because she doesn't have all the answers. The real power lies in contrast. When she feels emotionally connected to you, but can't fully predict how or when that connection is going to manifest, it makes your presence feel more valuable. It's like a reward system. She starts to chase those moments when you do give her your full attention, and when you don't, she starts to crave it even more. The absence of that attention becomes louder, more painful, more impactful. And when you're no longer around at all, it's not just a loss of companionship. It's a loss of that emotional roller coaster she was riding. She'll miss the highs, and she'll even miss the uncertainty of the lows, because that unpredictability created emotional stimulation she's not likely to find elsewhere. Being unpredictable also forces her to stay on her best behavior. When she knows you're not someone she can easily control or keep with minimal effort, she becomes more mindful of how she treats you. She knows she has to earn your consistency, your time, and your presence. This balance of being steady in your values but spontaneous in your actions creates an emotional dynamic that stays in her mind, even long after you're gone. And when that presence disappears completely, when the blend of security and surprise is no longer available to her, it leaves a hole that routine, predictable men can't fill. The pain of losing you becomes wrapped up in the unpredictability she once resented but now deeply craves. Demonstrating emotional control is one of the most powerful traits a man can develop, not only for his own peace and stability, but also for the effect it has on a woman's perception of him. Emotional control means that you don't let your feelings override your logic. You don't blow up, break down, or become reactive just because something triggers you. When a woman sees that you're not easily shaken, that you remain calm under pressure and composed even when things get tense, it creates a deep sense of respect, and more importantly, it creates uncertainty in her mind. She doesn't quite know what you're feeling, and that mystery becomes both frustrating and captivating. Most men fall into the trap of over-explaining themselves, overreacting to her silence, or trying to resolve every little conflict immediately out of fear that they'll lose her. But that fear, driven behavior only makes her feel like she holds the emotional power in the relationship. When you constantly try to fix everything or respond emotionally to her moods, you become predictable and easy to manipulate. Women are deeply intuitive. They can sense when your emotions are tightly wound around theirs, and once they know you're emotionally dependent, they stop seeing you as the grounded, masculine figure that drew them in to begin with. But when you practice emotional control, you shift the entire dynamic. You're not cold or indifferent. You're just composed. If she gives you attitude, you don't argue. If she pulls back emotionally, you don't panic. If she tries to test you with passive-aggressive comments, you don't take the bait. Instead, you observe, stay calm, and move accordingly. This doesn't mean you ignore her or shut down emotionally. It means you choose your responses carefully. You respond, you don't react. That calm energy is rare. It communicates strength without you ever needing to raise your voice. What really gets under her skin in a way she doesn't expect is when she realizes she can't get a strong emotional reaction out of you. She might try to make you jealous, say something hurtful, or create drama to test your investment in her. But when you don't give her the satisfaction of seeing you fall apart or chase her harder, it unsettles her. It makes her wonder how much control she truly has over you, and once that control slips from her hands, the relationship dynamic changes completely. Women are emotional creatures, and they often use emotion to connect, to test, and to communicate. When they see that you're not easily moved, it creates contrast. They start to respect your grounded presence, and ironically, the more emotionally controlled you are, the more emotional they become in your absence. Because you're not giving in, because you're not reacting the way others might have, your calm silence starts to echo louder than any words. It's in that silence that the pain of losing you begins to grow. She's not just missing a boyfriend or a partner. She's missing the emotional anchor, the calm center, the presence that never made her feel overwhelmed, yet always made her feel seen. Over time, the memory of your emotional control becomes more valuable. When she finds herself with someone who's emotionally reactive, clingy, or easily manipulated, she'll start to remember how different it felt to be with someone like you. Someone she couldn't easily read, predict, or control. That stability, that poise, that unwavering presence, it stays with her. And when you're no longer around, it's not just the man she misses. It's the way your emotional control made her feel protected, challenged, and intrigued all at once. That's the kind of loss that doesn't fade quickly. Creating moments of distance is one of the most strategic and psychologically impactful moves a man can make when he wants a woman to feel the depth of his absence. Most men make the mistake of being constantly available, always showing up, always initiating contact, and always trying to fix or maintain the connection, even when the energy is not being reciprocated. But this constant presence actually works against them. It removes any sense of mystery, eliminates the emotional tension that fuels desire, and makes the man feel overly familiar and easily accessible. Familiarity, while comforting at times, can also breed complacency, and when a woman becomes too accustomed to your constant availability, she starts to take you for granted, not out of malice, but because you've taught her that you'll always be there no matter what. But when you intentionally create distance, not out of spite, not to manipulate, but to reclaim your space and emotional independence, it shifts everything. That space forces her to confront the void that your presence used to fill. Suddenly, the calls she expected don't come. The texts she was used to waking up to are no longer there. The attention she once received without effort starts to disappear. And in that silence, in that unexpected absence, her mind begins to wander. She starts questioning what happened, if you've lost interest, if someone else has your attention, or if she made a mistake. That internal dialogue can be more powerful than any words you could say. Distance breaks patterns. If she's used to you checking in every day, and suddenly you go quiet for 2 or 3 days, it disrupts her sense of control. It's in those quiet hours, those days without hearing from you, that her imagination does the work for you. She starts to feel the emotional absence, even if she was emotionally distant before. You see, people don't miss someone who's constantly in front of them. They miss someone when that energy, that presence, suddenly goes missing without explanation. It leaves a vacuum, and that vacuum forces her to reflect on what she had, what she lost, and what she may never get back. This kind of distance is not about playing hard to get. It's about giving her the opportunity to feel what life is like without you. And if you've been a consistent, grounded, emotionally stable presence in her life, that absence will hit her in ways she didn't expect. She'll realize the value of what you brought to the table, not through your words, but through your silence. The key here is that you're not begging for her attention. You're not reaching out to fix things. You're simply stepping back, refocusing on your own life, and allowing her to come to her own conclusions. And that's where the real emotional impact takes root. When she comes to those conclusions on her own, when she starts to remember your voice in the quiet moments, your laughter in her silence, your energy in her day-to-day routine that now feels just a little emptier. That pain, that sense of something missing, doesn't hit like a wave at first. It creeps in slowly, but once it hits hard, because distance has a way of forcing people to confront feelings they've been avoiding. It removes the distractions and shines a spotlight on everything that's been taken for granted. Even more powerful is when you use that distance to level up. When she checks your social media and sees that you're thriving, not wallowing. When she hears from mutual friends that you've been busy, active, and looking better than ever, that's when the distance starts to feel permanent to her, and panic sets in. That's when she realizes that you're not sitting around waiting for her. You've stepped into your own power, and the version of you that once gave her attention so freely has evolved into someone she no longer has access to. That realization creates a sting that no amount of attention from other men can heal. Moments of distance, when used with emotional control and self-respect, aren't about creating punishment. They're about creating clarity. They allow her to feel the reality of what it would be like if she actually lost you. And that emotional clarity often does more to wake her up than any argument, plea, or explanation ever could. Elevating your lifestyle is one of the most subtle yet profoundly effective ways to make a woman feel the full weight of your absence. It's not just about having more money or material success. It's about becoming a man whose life is rich with purpose, direction, and momentum. When you begin to focus intensely on improving yourself, your routines, your health, your mindset, and your future, something powerful happens. Your value rises, not just in her eyes, but in the eyes of everyone around you. You become someone she can no longer categorize the same way she did when you were fully focused on her. And the moment she realizes that you're not just moving on, but moving up, that's when the pain of losing you starts to hit with a sharp edge. Most men, after a relationship begins to slip or ends, spiral into stagnation. They wait around hoping for reconciliation, constantly checking in or obsessing over what went wrong. That behavior sends a loud message: you've stopped living. And that's exactly what convinces a woman that she made the right choice in distancing herself. But when you take the opposite path, when you use that space and silence to fuel your transformation, you force her to reevaluate everything she thought she knew about you. Because nothing challenges a woman's decision more than seeing the man she left behind becoming stronger, more attractive, and more respected without her influence. Elevating your lifestyle means being intentional. It means refining your wardrobe, upgrading your environment, cultivating discipline, reading more, building new income streams, hitting the gym consistently, and surrounding yourself with people who inspire growth. It's not about flexing, it's about evolution, and when she sees that, whether directly or indirectly, it changes the narrative in her head. Suddenly, she's not sure if she'll have access to this newer, sharper version of you. She wonders if the man you're becoming will even want her back, or worse, if someone else has already taken her place in your life. This shift creates a deep psychological tension in her mind. She once had the comfort of knowing you were emotionally attached, maybe even stuck. But now she sees you as a man in motion, a man who didn't just survive without her but began to thrive. And that visual, whether it's in the form of seeing you confidently walk into a room, watching you post about your new ventures, or hearing about you from mutual friends, sticks with her. She might try to play it cool, pretend she's unbothered, but the reality is she's watching. Women always notice when a man begins to elevate himself. They feel the change in your energy even before they see it physically. And that energetic shift disrupts the comfort she once had. Even if she doesn't show it, there's a quiet panic that builds when she realizes she might have walked away from a man who is now out of reach. And that's the kind of pain that lingers. It's not about vengeance or showing off. It's about becoming so focused on your purpose that your glow naturally makes her feel the contrast of her own decisions. When she's scrolling through her phone late at night alone, and she sees you looking better, sounding wiser, and living fuller, that's when the regret creeps in. She remembers the man you were, but now you've evolved into someone even she might not qualify for anymore. By elevating your lifestyle, you're not just sending a message to her, you're also reminding yourself of your worth. You're reinforcing the idea that no one is your destination, that your life doesn't pause because someone chose to leave. Instead, it accelerates. And as that acceleration continues, the distance between who you were and who you're becoming grows so wide that it's impossible to ignore. She may have been a chapter in your story, but now you're writing something new, something more powerful, and something that doesn't include the version of her that didn't appreciate you when she had the chance. That realization doesn't just sting, it burns slowly, deeply, and quietly. Mastering silence is one of the most underutilized yet devastatingly powerful tools a man can wield, especially when it comes to leaving a lasting emotional imprint on a woman. Most men are conditioned to believe that constant communication is the only way to maintain a connection or to show that they care. So they chase, they text, they explain, they plead, and in doing so, they diminish their power and presence. But when you choose silence, not as a reaction but as a strategy, it sends a message louder than any words ever could. It tells her that you're not desperate for closure, that you don't need validation, and most importantly, that your emotional well-being is not tied to her acknowledgement. Silence forces her to sit with her own thoughts. Without your words, without your presence constantly reminding her of your availability, her mind begins to fill in the gaps. She starts to wonder what you're thinking, why you're not reaching out, and whether or not you've moved on. That uncertainty grows heavier with time, and while she might act unbothered on the surface, the longer you remain silent, the more the weight of your absence begins to sink in. She begins to realize that you were never chasing her. You were offering your presence, and now that it's gone, there's no assurance it will return. Most people don't fear losing what they have. They fear losing what they took for granted once it's gone. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting back to her every moment she undervalued your effort, dismissed your energy, or tested your limits. She replays old conversations, revisits old photos, rereads old messages. And in the absence of new input from you, those memories start to take on a new meaning. Things she once brushed off now feel important. Moments she overlooked begin to sting. She starts to realize that silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's the presence of distance, finality, and consequence. Silence also reclaims your emotional authority. When you don't respond to provocation, ignore attempts to bait you into arguments, or simply stop feeding into her cycles of confusion, you're no longer playing the game. You're choosing peace over chaos. And for a woman who once had emotional leverage, that shift in control is jarring. She may reach out subtly at first, liking a post, replying to a story, sending a casual text. But when you don't immediately respond, when you maintain your silence, that's when the panic intensifies. She starts to question whether you're truly done, whether she miscalculated your emotional strength, whether she pushed too far thinking you'd always come back. What most men don't understand is that silence isn't passive, it's active. It's a conscious decision to stop feeding what no longer serves you. It's a refusal to let someone who didn't value you continue to have access to your energy. And when you master this, you stop being someone she can rely on emotionally when it's convenient for her. You become a mystery, a closed door, a what-if that she can't solve. That's the kind of mental and emotional weight that lingers far longer than an argument or a goodbye. Eventually, silence becomes a symbol of your growth, your boundaries, and your unwillingness to accept anything less than mutual respect. It tells her that the old version of you, the one who tolerated the emotional roller coaster, who stayed through the mixed signals, who waited for breadcrumbs of affection, is gone. And what's left in your place is a man who doesn't chase, doesn't explain, and doesn't entertain inconsistency. That shift, that silence becomes a statement, one she hears every day in the absence of your voice, your presence, and your energy. So in the end, if you truly want the pain of losing you to hit her hard, stop chasing, stop explaining, and stop waiting. Let your silence speak volumes. Let your growth be undeniable. Let your absence become more powerful than your presence ever was. Because when a woman realizes she lost a man who had the strength to walk away, the discipline to stay silent, and the courage to evolve without her, that's when it truly hits her. Not in the moment she let you go, but in the moments after, when she sees the man you've become and knows deep down, she'll never get him back.